All right, here we go, guys. Thank you for coming on. Crush This, a Monster Truck podcast. Hey, this is Dan Cheech, Agosh. Brad, this is a pre-recording. Just wanted to do this last second here. This will air this Tuesday. Well, it's today. But we'll just knock this down. We have Tuesday off, but we'll produce this for Tuesday. And Brad's getting ready, still getting some minor details with his new job at Fast and All. Congratulations, Brad. He's knocking it out of the park. Got some testing and got some licenses pass. So give a shout out to Brad. Give some love to Brad. And he's getting ready to get married in December. So he's also going to be getting ready for that too. So once again, guys, I want to give you a heads up on that. Brad will be missing for the whole month of December, getting ready for the wedding, spending some time with his lady, and having fun that way. So it's going to be a cool, really awesome couple months for Brad here in the next couple months, like I said. And once again, congratulations, Brad, for right now what you're having successfully doing with your designs and stuff like that, and with the wedding and your job too. But once again, I want to thank our sponsors here, High Octane Coffee, J Concepts. Those guys have been rocking it since the beginning of this podcast. Hung out with Joey at Wheatland, where that was there with the owner of JB Scale Graphics, Mr. John Arnold, and we took his boy Gunner there, and it was an awesome time to go see that program. Joey rocked it. Even though Zach Garner sweeped it, but our next guest, he rocked it also, and he was the first one freestyle for that one too. But go take a look at his stuff at Youngstown, Ohio, Canfield, Ohio, which he just did an awesome show in Canfield, and man, it's going to be hanging out with him during Thanksgiving too. J Concepts, they just rocked out the awesome Bigfoot racing tires, Firestorms, tires. They look so like the 90s and what they run today. It's pretty cool. And they are also officially licensed by Bigfoot USA 1 Samson Monster Truck Team. JB Scale Graphics, they just came out with the front clip and decals for Snakebite. Go take a look at that stuff. It's pretty cool. Old school overkill. Sponsored by, not sponsored, but officially licensed Bigfoot, Overkill, Obsessed, Bad Habit, and more to come. So it was cool to have him talk to Joey for the first time, Jamie, Zach, Jensen, and all those guys. So hopefully they can get connected and stuff like that. And our next week's guest, next week's guest will be Paul Wolf. We'll have him live. He's a Ultra 4 racer. And this weekend, he is going to go for his championships. I think there's like 3 championships there at Disney, Oklahoma. Hopefully he wins it. We'll have a talk to him. That's presented by JB Scale Graphics. They hooked us up with the guest with him. He's right now the big talk in the Ultra 4 off-road racing series, both East, West, and National. So it's pretty cool to have the awesome guy like him. Cool guy, cool cat. Met him in person the day after Wheatland, and helped John out with a couple of the wrap situations that they were having with his buggy, which his unlimited buggy looks awesome. Go take a look at that when you have a chance. It's pretty epic. Back Channel Productions, go take a look at his videos. Like I said, video just came out. Winchester, Virginia. Killer Bee, Bad News Travels Fast, Toxic, Virginia Giant, and Samson are all there. Deal Wilson of Performance Motorsports runs it. Go take a look at, like I said, on this YouTube video, Back Channel Productions. They brought an awesome commercial for us to show and stuff like that. MTRC, Colby Marshall, the guy from the Monster Blog, runs an awesome RC group. We do these little 90-minute video clips on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. Go take a look at his stuff too. Pretty awesome stuff. My trucks are in there. Josh Rhodes, Chris Parrish, etc. life scaled down to the real deal, and some epic stuff right there. Let's see here. Gotta think. There we go. Yeah, get out of another little screen there. 6B Apparel. They create our uniforms here. We got this one, which is a new wave. Also, our OG. We also have hoodies with the OG and the new wave too. Those are $100 a pop. Go talk to me or Brad and go from there. Also, gonna put this on here too. At the ticker, it's our spread shop link. If you guys see that, write it down. We have the link on our Facebook. We have t-shirts coming out, stickers, mugs, stuff like that. Once again, order some, help out the podcast, support it. It's cool stuff. Good old wear, like a Big Bad and Blown t-shirt. Got Mud, our version of the Pep Boys logo. Once again, go to spreadshop.com. Crush This Monster Truck Podcast. Also, Hall Brothers Racing, thank you so much for the decals that we put on the trucks that help support our podcast and spread also the entertainment value of what we can do for monster trucks and stuff like that. So once again, thank you for Hall Brothers Racing for what you guys have done. Justin Stories, man, this guy is pretty cool. See, there's the decal right there. He created a book called Making Tracks, and it's a cool comic book that is for all ages, kid friendly, mostly focused on kids. It's about just the story of someone trying to make it to where he's at, and it's cool. $10 a pop on Amazon, or message Justin Stories on Facebook. Get yourself a copy. We have a few copies to give away too, so we'll be doing that here in the next couple weeks. So a lot of big things are coming up in the next couple weeks, hopefully, and we'll be showing you that too. Man, that was a pretty cool intro. Loved it. But we're going to get to the other intros, a few commercials, intros, and then we're going to interview the 2022 Toughest Monster Truck Tour champion, Dalton Widner, right now. Here we go.
This isn't your typical motorsports podcast. You're listening to Crush This, a monster truck podcast presented by High Octane Coffee and J Concepts. A show where we take you inside the minds of your favorite drivers, past and present, of the monster truck industry. And now, your hosts, Brad Shaw and Dan Cheech Agosh. Buckle in. The show starts now.
Hey, once again, thank you so much. I also want to thank Bradley Shaw Designs, too. Go take a look at his stuff, too. He just did the Stomper and American Scout, a couple of hopefully future NHRA stuff. But, man, we're going to have a guy right here and part of Team Throttle Monster. Dalton, man, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you doing?
All hanging in there on this nice week right after we're getting ready for a little bit of a ride truck gig in Arkansas. I know you're getting ready for a big event at the Arizona State Fair, but man, it was nice seeing you at Wheatland. A crazy, crazy night for any truck that was there. It was definitely felt like a stadium vibe show. With with you running a few uh kind of those events. Uh, man, talk about Wheatland for a little bit.
Man, Wheatland was a lot of fun. It was supposed to be the last event of the year for my chassis and that Jurassic body. So I went into that with the mentality of I was just going to scatter that body across the track and just have a whole lot of fun and see what I could come out with, see if I can get a win. But didn't work out that way. Didn't get any wins, but sure had a whole lot of fun doing it. Didn't come out with too much breakage on my truck other than the body being uh, left, right, and center all over the track. But yeah, it was a good time. It was really fun. It was fun to compete in it. I don't really get to do a whole lot of the real big floors and stuff like that, but anytime I get a chance to, it's a whole lot of fun. And watching everybody else out there was a lot of fun too. It was a really good show to compete in and to attend.
Man, let's talk about the atmosphere of Lucas Oil Speedway in there in Wheatland. It's in the middle of nowhere, kind of like Eldora, but it's like a college campus for motorsports heads. I mean, there's everything there. Man, what was your first, sights and sounds of that place?
Man, when I rolled in, I pulled up. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. The day before, let's see, show was on Saturday. I rolled in Friday morning at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and couldn't really see a whole lot, but I saw the gates and I saw the track there, and I was like, man, this place is big. I didn't realize it was as big as it was, but then I got up in the morning and drove the rig inside, and I could see everything. And man, they got everything out there. They got camping grounds. They've got the stuff for the boat racing. They've got we got stadium truck tracks out there. And then the facility itself was just everything was really nice. It's really a refreshing sight to see when you see a well taken care of track that's as nice as that.
And then the festivities there too. I mean, the trick or treating, seeing all the costumes and stuff like that. I bet you saw a lot of dinosaur kids, huh?
Yeah, there was a couple of them. There's one of them that he had one of those blow up T-Rex ones on there. That one was cool. I've seen those all over the internet. He was that cool. That kid was cool. He said the dinosaur was his favorite, and I said get a good look at it while it's sitting right here because it won't look like that very long. And
Man,
yeah, it was a fun time. The trick or treating thing was cool too. It was cool to hand out candy to the kids and see them smiling and everything and having a good time.
so man, let's go back to the time machine and go all the way back to when you were younger. We always ask that as our first question. This one's a little bit different, but what got you intrigued about monster trucks, and the what tell me when you were kind of pursuing it. So, like, you were always a fan, let's just say, but what kind of made you start pursuing it more?
Man, honestly, I couldn't pinpoint one thing that led me to pursuing it. But I know that, when I first, my obsession started when I was 4 years old. I saw it on TV one day and just thought it was the coolest thing in the world and decided that's what I wanted to do one day when I grew up. And it kind of just stuck with me throughout my entire life. I for a little while there, it was, I was obsessed with it for years and years and years. And then I got to when I was like 10, 11, 12 years old, and I kind of fell off of it for a little while. Started doing, like being interested in a couple other things. And then it just kind of reignited when I was like 13, 14 years old. I actually finally got a computer and stuff. And I was all over YouTube watching the stuff. And it kind of like reignited this flame in me that just, I don't know. It's like it spoke to me that this is what I was meant to do. I was just so analytical and obsessive over these trucks that it seemed like if I did anything else, that it just wouldn't make any sense. But I first got my start when I was 14 years old. Had a buddy. Shout out to Daniel Donnelly. I played video games with him for a long time, and he was in with Vodders Motorsports, and he was running 4 trucks at the time, and I remember it like it was yesterday. It's the first time that I'd ever been in the pits at a monster truck show. I talked to Daniel, and he talked to the guys over there, and they made it to where I could come into the pits at Monster Jam in my hometown at Thompson Bowling Arena in Knoxville, Tennessee. And it was the first time that I had ever even like gotten to touch a truck in any type of way other than just seeing it at pit party. But yeah, that was my first experience with crewing and stuff like that. And I came into there and I just had such a hunger that I wanted to do it so bad. I would do anything to get to the spot that I wanted to be in, to be able to drive and stuff like that. And I was just doing whatever I could when I was that young. I was wiping trucks down, helping, carry fuel and whatever else I could possibly do. And, anytime we were fixing stuff, I was right there in the mix of it. Not that I knew a whole lot, but, I was just doing everything I could to watch intently and, observe and make sure that I soaked up as much information as I could and helping tire up, tire down. It was then, and then I went to Chattanooga like the next weekend or the weekend after that with them. That was the first two weekends that I ever got to be around monster trucks, and it lit a fire where it was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm meant to do, and I'm going to do whatever I have to do to be able to make it happen.
Man, and you're talking about video games because I have raced you before, and also it's just crazy to think about the people that have done it. All sorts of, not just in the position of driving or crewing, like AV or tech officialing. It just the crazy thing is how we got this online monster truck racing life that we have, to the connections. If it wasn't for that, I didn't have a chance to see someone posted on a forum asking for help at a Monster Jam show, and I said I'll help out, and I'm not that far away, so I went ahead and did that. And how do you see it, where all these people that you just were BSing with and joking around, and you're racing online with either a controller, keyboard, or a wheel, and then not thinking, if you ask your 14-year-old self, that half the guys or most of the people that you raced with is in the monster truck industry one shape or form or way. I think yourself would probably tell yourself you're crazy.
Yeah, that's you hit the nail on the head right there. That's exactly how I would feel about it, because I was that was probably as close as I felt like I could ever get, was playing those video games. I had a wheel set up and I had everything, and it was what I would do when I wasn't doing something with football or working out or whatever. I was either hanging out with friends, or I was playing rigs of rods and stuff like that, and just dreaming and hoping that I could eventually get to the spot that I'm in. And man, if I would have told myself that at 22 I would have won a championship within the first year of me driving, then I would have just slapped myself silly and said there's no possible way. But yeah, and then like everybody else that's also involved with it, people that I used to just play video games with, it was just, we all loved monster trucks, and that was what we felt like was the closest thing we were ever going to get to it. Most realistic thing that we could do was play in that game, and we would all just hang out and run leagues and stuff like that. And now, I mean, half of us are involved in the sport some way or shape or form. Tech official, AV, driving, crewing, whatever. It's just somehow, some way, that community has led me to where I am today, because there's no way that I would have gotten an in with it had I not been playing video games with those guys.
Right, and I hear you on that. Same boat with you, about that. But still, let's continue on, man. So how did you get in touch with Ed Ecker and Full Bore?
So I knew that he was from around my hometown. I knew that he was originally from Michigan, but that he was like living in Tennessee now, because I remember at a couple of the shows that I would go to in Thompson Bowling Arena, my hometown show, he would always be there, and he would run a University of Tennessee flag on the back of it, and he would be like the hometown representative. So I kind of put two and two together, and I was like, I guess he's living around here now. And I found him on Facebook and messaged him, and I think I was 16 when I went up there and started volunteering for him. And I messaged him and asked him if he needed help. And of course, nobody's going to turn down free help. So he brought me up there, and I did whatever I could, or whatever knowledge that I had. I tried to just soak up as much from him as I possibly could. But that was at the time that he was building his new truck that he's got now. I actually helped him disassemble the old one that had the leaf springs on it and everything. And then I was around helping him. I remember days I was at the shop with him. I was holding a transfer case up in the middle of the chassis while he was welding mounts for it, like stuff like that. Just being as much of a help as I possibly could. But I was so obsessed with it that I was over there as much as I possibly could. He lived like 30 minutes away from me, so I would finish football at school, or I'd finish the school day, and if I didn't have football, I'd go straight over there if he was working, or if I had football that day, I'd finish workouts or practice or whatever it was that I was doing, and I'd drive over there, and I'd be there for sometimes I'd be there for 30 minutes. Sometimes I'd be there for 4 hours, just however long he was going to work. But it didn't matter to me as long as I got to be around it and try to advance myself in this industry somehow.
And we got to take opportunity to thank probably the most important people that we have is our parents. They helped us out with this obsession that we had. My dad always says it's my fault for taking you to a monster truck show back in 1990, and these big trucks with funny tires are making you go all over the world. And I met your parents at Wheatland, and they were awesome, very supportive of you. They're 100%. What was your parents kind of like with this, especially when you're splitting both, this monster truck ordeal and then, potentially a football future too?
Yeah, so they were, they were always supportive no matter what it was, but they definitely wanted me to go to college because that was always what was perceived to be as the best avenue for somebody who's coming out of high school. At least that's what they were taught when they were growing up, is that it's best if you go to college and you do something in college and you get a degree and you go work that job or whatever. And they brought it to me as if I go to college and do what I, get a degree in whatever I'm going to get, that, I could eventually parlay it somehow into monster trucks where I could, get a good job and I could build my own truck and stuff like that. And, they never took the dream away. They never took the monster trucks away from it. They were always supportive that I wanted to do monster trucks, and they wanted me to do what I wanted to do, but they wanted to help me do it. I think that's what I'm trying to say. They were trying to find the best avenue for me to be able to do it because I didn't have an in anywhere other than like volunteering for people at shows and stuff like that. My family, we didn't come from monster trucks. I didn't even come from a racing background. My parents, my dad, huge drag racing fan, and so is my mom. I was going to NHRA drag races before I was born. Like that's where the interest in automotive things came from. But it's not like I had some kind of magical, like a red carpet into the industry. So they were obviously wanting to support me and make sure that I achieved the goal that I wanted to. And they were trying to give me the best advice and best avenue possible to reach it.
Yeah, I got you on that, and then so we're gonna kind of enter you said you're helping Ed out with being 16. So you're a sophomore entering junior in high school. You're getting into a situation pretty soon where colleges are going to be starting to look at for you. You're playing pretty good football. You're already a varsity player, right?
Yeah, I was on varsity my freshman year.
So freshman year already, you're kind of in the between portion. You're going on the downhill slope of high school, and then you're getting the point where, man, you're kind of about to get on a fork in the road if you think about it. You had a unique situation there. You had two. I guess I could say football is a form of entertainment. It is a form of entertainment. Fans are watching you playing a game. Fans are watching you running a race against another competitor. So you had a unique situation where you have a pursuing that you're learning, you're soaking all this information about, the monster truck world and trying to get yourself into a seat there where on the other end, you could have a potential future in the NFL. So, you know, with that going on there, uh, you know, uh, let's fast forward to your senior year. You're getting ready for, you know, you're going the beginning of football season. You're doing scouting reports and you're going to stuff like that. Um, what schools were actually interested in you, and what was the school that you picked, and the reason why you picked that school for your college to pursue uh, more information, I guess.
Yeah. So, honestly, to be completely honest with you, before I start into that, I didn't even think like playing college football wasn't even a thought in my mind until I got to high school. Football was just what I did. It was a outlet for me. Um, I played all kinds of sports when I was growing up, and then football kind of just turned into the main one, the one that I stuck with and played all the time. But once I got to my senior year, I had off the top of my head, I had offers from Navy, UNC Charlotte, um, Coastal Carolina, Eastern Kentucky University. I think Western Kentucky was interested in me for a while, but I committed before they offered me. Um, and then when I was a junior, University of Tennessee was interested in me as well. But unfortunately, the coaching staff that was there that was interested in me and recruiting me and another player from my team, they left, and they still ended up recruiting the other guy from my team. But for me, the interest stopped there. But I chose to play at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte because I went on a visit there, and the campus for that place is literally maybe 10 minutes down the road from Charlotte Motor Speedway and the dirt track and ZMAX Dragway, all that stuff. And I know that Charlotte was a very much a racing city, like if there ever was to be one, it was very, very NASCAR oriented and stuff like that, other than the other stuff that they got going on there. But I chose that place because when I was going on a visit there, I figured out that they had, I can't remember the exact name of the degree, but they had basically in short terms a automotive or it was an engineering degree with a focus towards motorsports is what it was. It was like a motorsports engineering degree. And I chose to go there because of that. And, I got there and was playing football and all that stuff and doing all the college work and whatnot. And it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. But I was still getting going for it and trying to do what I could. And my mentality with college was that it was going to be a means to an end, which my means to an end is like I get through this and I do this so that I can do monster trucks. And I got there and I was playing through my first year. And I think I got to the fall semester and it just didn't work out with the engineering degree. They wanted me to take like a certain amount, like they wanted me to take like 3 math classes all within the fall semester when we're in the middle of football season. And I kind of figured out that the engineering department over there doesn't really care for athletes that much. So kind of dropped that and then went into getting a business degree. And I played football there for about 2 years. And it kind of just got to the point where it was like I was really just tired of football. I was over it. I played the same position my entire football career. From the time that I played flag football through high school through college, I was a center, and I played offensive, defensive line. And then for the last few years of my career, I only played on the offensive side of the ball. But it was just the same thing every year, and it was basically a year-round job from the time that I started playing to the time that I stopped. It was football, 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 and I would do everything I could to squeeze some monster trucks in there as much as I could. It was either if it wasn't in season, then it was either I was doing practice in the summer or spring practice or something like that. And if I wasn't at practice, I was working out. And if I wasn't working out, I was going to training and doing all this other stuff. And it just got to the point where it was more than a full-time job. And then when I got to college, it was more than a full-time job and it was school on top of it. And I was like, you know what? Like, I've got I've got an opportunity in front of me thanks to one of my buddies once again, and I was just gonna drop it and run with it, and here I am today.
Yeah, man. A lot of people may not understand the pressure that a collegiate athlete like yourself has to go through for that situation, just to be 100. In your line of what you were in college, keeping it 100 was an understatement. If you're below 100%, mentally and physically, is just gonna drag you like riding a horse, and the
Yep,
horse is just dragging you across the road. uh,
100%.
Unless you get yourself to ride on it. But um, man, you take the ball running. So we're done with the collegiate side of it now. So um, you go talk about when you're going from the full bore, and how did you get yourself a chance to work with Vern House, and what was the conversation like with him having you behind the wheel of, was it already Super Trooper that was going to be debuting, or how did
Yeah,
that come about, the old Reptoid truck?
yeah, it was Super Trooper when we first debuted it. So before I got there, I worked for Bill Payne at Straight Up Racing.
Oh, okay,
Uh,
did not know that.
yeah, that was the first place that I ever got to. So I had a buddy, Dawson Rias. He was working for Bill at the time, and he basically got me an in there with him. And when I quit playing college ball, I went home and decided that monster trucks is what I wanted to pursue full time, and made the jump and moved out to Washington with them. And um, I went out there and I was a crew guy for a while, and then I drove ride truck. And the whole time that I was there, I pretty much drove a ride truck. And then I got an opportunity in the yard one day. I think it was either during COVID or right before it. Or yeah, it was during COVID when I came back. We were trying to figure out the shocks on it, on the new Rockstar, and um, Bill gave me the opportunity to drive it in the yard, and that was the first time I ever drove a monster truck, like a race truck. I had been driving ride trucks for a while for him. I drove Skeletor and then DOG, and then we turned DOG into the Identity Theft ride truck. And yeah, the first monster truck that I ever drove was Bill Payne's new Rockstar.
Mm.
Drove it, and it was a really surreal experience. It was amazing. Like that was getting to drive it. It wasn't even at a show. It was just in the yard, but I was just so overjoyed and excited that finally the hard work that I'd put in had paid off. Because before I even got there, while I was in college, I was still going out and trying to help out teams. There was a
Mm.
place up in Hickory, North Carolina that was remotely close to Charlotte that RJ Turner and War Wizard would go into, and I went there like at least 2 years in a row, and went and volunteered for him and stuff. And I'd just been trying my best to get through and to get it in, and then I got to Bills, and I learned so much when I was there. I learned almost everything that I know while I was up there. And then after COVID, or not after COVID, but during COVID, I went home, and the Monster Trucks with Z tour was actually in my hometown. And while I was there, I was like, well, I might as well just go over there and see what's going on. And I ended up meeting Vern at the show, and then the next weekend he had me drive his truck in Nashville for the Monster Trucks of the Z Tour. And I was, that was my first time driving a truck in a show. And then went to Memphis, and he had a bad crash and hurt himself, and I basically just went back to his place in Florida with him and helped him patch the thing back together. And then he was talking about building another truck and asked me if I wanted to drive it, and I was like, yeah. And you know, kind of just went from there. And then that thing turned into Super Trooper, and I drove it for a while, and then left there and found an opportunity here with Team Throttle Monster, and I've been going strong ever since.
So when you were your first time driving the truck, did anyone give you any pointers about how to approach a ramp, or how to handle the truck in general?
The first time that I ever drove when I was at Bill's, no, I don't think I really got much of anything. I asked the guys around the shop about driving and stuff, and really the only thing that stuck with me was drive through the ramp, which I didn't do on my first jump. Let out the throttle early and nosed over, and got a good taste of how a monster truck lands when you don't drive it right. But yeah, I mean, honestly, not even, I would go around and I would ask people that had obviously been driving longer than me and were, eons, more skillful than me, and I'd ask them how they would do stuff. And not really even trying to brag on myself, but I would take what they said and I'd just be like, well, that makes sense. And I would kind of apply it to what I thought I should do. And I would just go do what I thought I should do. And half the time it would work out, half the time it wouldn't. And I'd learn from my mistakes and, try to come back better the next time. But as far as tips for driving goes, it was nobody was really holding back any tips and tricks from me. But I would definitely, go around to whatever show I was at and ask somebody, like, well, I'd never hit one of these, so how do you do it, or something like that. And I'd have an idea in the back of my head from, just what, like, because I was so analytical of monster trucks in general and how people drove and stuff, and I'd watched it so much that it's like I had a vision in my head of how I should do it. And most of the time, whenever I would ask somebody how they would approach a ramp or how they would hit a ramp or something like that, half the time it would line up with what I had in my head, and I'd be like, "Oh, sweet! I actually do have a somewhat of an idea of how to do this." And it got to a point where I think a few shows in, not that I stopped asking people how they would do stuff, but most of the time I would just kind of rely on my instincts and do what came to me naturally. And that's where I kind of found out that the more I think about driving, the worse I do. So whenever I go out, especially now, now that I've been driving for a while, if I go out and I've got something in the back of my head, like, worrying about breaking the truck or doing something stupid or worrying about who's in the other lane across from me, that's when I really make mistakes. But if I just go out there and just, take the mental block out of my head and, just not really think about anything other than just being one with the truck and just doing what feels natural to me, then, that's when it works out a lot better, is when I just kind of turn my brain off and go have some fun.
Man, like you said, when you, after helping with Vern, you got yourself into a position with helping out with Team Throttle Monster, and you took the ball and ran. Man, them putting you into the, I guess, the third Jurassic Attack truck with Paul and Too Tall and the other two.
Yes.
And having the short history of what you're doing behind the wheel, and then putting you into a tour like the Toughest Monster Truck Tour, where, like, we all, were following, watching YouTube of the Monster Blog and watching Dan Runte dominate that sport, and, seeing Aaron Kane trying to keep up with him, Jerry Beck tried to keep up with him, then Larry Swim, and you kind of being the second champion for Throttle Monster, but being the second guy to win a championship that wasn't part of Team Bigfoot was another awesome historical thing. When you were coming in to the season, what was your basically mindset, and when did you start thinking throughout the year that you're gonna be like, I can have a chance to win this championship?
Man, I'll tell you, at the start of the season, I did not think that I had any kind of remote shot to win the championship. When I joined Team Throttle Monster, it was August of 2021. And I had been driving for, not even 6 months or something like that. And the first weekend that I was there, I went and did a show with Too Tall in Idaho for Live Little Productions. And I drove what is now, or what was Travis's truck this year. I drove it, and it was Wrecking Machine at the time. And man, I tell you what, I did not realize that that's how a monster truck should land until I got into that thing. That's just a side note. I got into that thing and took a jump, and I'm used to like wincing and closing my eyes and being like, "Oh, this is gonna hurt," and then I'd hit the ground, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing!" But like, coming into the season at Toughest, I had just started for Team Throttle in August. And, when I started on, Mike hired me, and, I knew that I was going to be driving and stuff. And I was going to be driving Zach's truck whenever he wasn't there. But, he had mentioned to me when I first started that there was a chance, if everything goes well, that I could go and I could compete in the Toughest Monster Truck Tour. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is amazing. Because, like you said, I had been watching the Monster Blog, and I'm pretty sure I've watched every single video on the Monster Blog at least 2 or 3 times. And I had seen the Toughest Monster Truck Tour, and it looked like so much fun. I mean, the jumps there are just absolute, just walls half the time, and it looks like fun to just go out there and just waylay something, see what happens. But just to add to that, not only was it my first quarter ever driving, and like my second first quarter full time doing monster trucks in general, but also it was my first time ever essentially running a team. Um, like it was me and Lane Larkin, and I was, me and him, we were running the C team. We were the C team for Team Throttle Monster. It was me and Lane and Zach, and just adding to the pressure, I had just gotten my CDL in December.
Ooh.
Yeah, I had just gotten my CDL in December, and I came back to the shop, and it was like, we were all just, knuckle deep in trying to finish these trucks up. And when I showed up to the shop, my truck, the rear end was apart in it, the blower and injector hat was off of it, there was no body on it and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm already stressed about having to run this tour. And I'm like, oh man. And then the truck that I was driving, I had also only done one show in it before the start of the year. That was Paul's truck before I got into it, and we built a metal shop truck for him. I drove it at one toughest show actually in Beaumont, Texas. I drove it one time, and that was it. And then it was new truck. Just got my CDL, first time running a team, pretty much alone with Lane. Just having a lot of responsibility on my shoulders.
A lot of sink and swim moments.
Yeah, it was crazy because it was like when everything was finally finished and ready to go, everybody was just out of the shop, gone, and I was the last one to leave because the first show of my tour had been canceled. So then I was there a little bit longer than everybody else, and everybody else was gone, and then I'm just I have this moment of like, oh crap, like it's up to me now. Like this is just, like nobody's supervising me. Nobody's like, I didn't really have a doubt in my abilities. Like I knew that I knew how to work on the trucks, and I could, I have full confidence that I can do pretty much anything with these things. And, like I had full confidence in myself, but the first time that you get completely left alone and it's like, well, here you go, run it. It's just like, okay, like it's a very much so a sink or swim moment where you're like, oh crap, like this is this is me now. But yeah, starting the season out, first it's first time running a team, just me and Lane running the C team, and first few shows in that truck that I drive now and all that stuff. The butterflies and the nervousness was so overwhelming, and I didn't think I had any kind of remote shot to win the championship because previous to that I'd only done, I only did a few shows with Team Throttle, and two of them were toughest, and man, there I just seemed like I couldn't figure it out. Near the end of it I had done pretty decent, but it was like, this was the obstacles and the level of competition and the quality of equipment that I had was just like way out of the league that I had been in before. And I felt like a fish out of water half the time. But, especially after the first 2 weekends of the year, I felt like there was no shot I was winning it. I came into Rio Rancho, did the first show, and I did okay. It was my second time driving that truck ever. And then the second show in Rio Rancho comes up, and I blow a head gasket and wheelies. So then I'm done for the rest of that show, and I hightail it back to the shop and pull the heads off of it, put some head gaskets on it, and then come back down to Prescott Valley, Arizona for the second weekend of the year, do the first show, get through wheelies, and then get to racing. And I win my first round of racing, and then I'm backing into my pit stall, and all of a sudden there's no oil pressure. So it loses I lost an oil pump, and had to change that, during the night there. And it was a lot of help from other people that were there. A lot of the other teams were, if they weren't directly, helping me put it back together or something like that, they were at least there hanging out with me and talking to me and stuff. Everybody there was awesome to be with. But after those first 3 shows, I'm like dead last in points. I'm like, man, I have no shot. And at the Toughest Monster Truck Tour, we have a rule where for the overall points for the year, they will drop your 2 lowest scores. So if, it basically levels the playing field, where if you have 2 terrible weekends or something like that, it's not going to completely just, if you go out there and win almost everything and you have 2 terrible weekends, it's not going to knock you out of championship contention. So everybody across the board, the 2 lowest overall event scores that you had for the year get dropped. And second weekend in, and all of a sudden I've used both of them, because there's 2 shows where I've done at least, I've missed over half the show. And I'm like, oh man, like this is, I'm hoping for third place maybe. But then the next show, the second show in Prescott, I go out and I win my first overall event championship. And I'm like, I got that first taste of winning, and I was like, man, like, I wonder if I just stay consistent and try to win as much as I possibly can, if I could win it or not. And then it just parlayed into, winning, and then I'd win again, and then I'd come out and I'd have an off show, and then I'd come out and win again and again and again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm climbing the point standings. And then all of a sudden it was, 3 weeks to the end of the tour, and, I'm right behind Brandon Budd in second place. And I'm like, man, I could win this. If I just keep doing what I'm doing, I could win it. I got to keep from breaking, and I got to keep being consistent and winning racing. And, that's just what I did. I stayed consistent. I figured out what to do that was that I could consistently
You figured out the
perform.
equation.
Yes, I figured out what I could consistently perform and could do and would get good scores, and I did that all year long. And I would just add to it a little bit every weekend. As I got more and more comfortable, I'd drive a little harder and a little harder and a little harder. And then eventually it got to the point where I was just driving, and I was like, man, I hope this thing holds together. And I would just go out there and waylay some stuff. Mm-hmm. But, it was a long season, and I'm really thankful that I came out with the win in the end. It was amazing. I was in tears when I got the trophy. It was like the biggest fulfillment of my dream that I could ever imagine.
Now you're fast forwarding it to next year in 2023, and then you're representing Team Throttle Monster in the Monster Jam West Coast Tour. Man, it got to be a roller coaster of last couple of years. You're being the 2022 Toughest Tour champion. A few months later, they're getting you, actually a few weeks later, you're doing arenas for Monster Jam, where, a lot of people have to, I think with Monster Jam, you either have to drive a full year or do their testing. I don't know did you do their testing yet, or had a chance to, or did you just, it seems like you're ready.
Yeah, no, it was, I definitely got a kind of fast tracked into it, because my first Monster Jam show was during first quarter. So I finished in not Rio Rancho, but Casper, Wyoming for Toughest. And that was the place that I actually rolled over for the first time as well. First ever rollover. And my next show was in Worcester, Massachusetts for Monster Jam. And, I drove cross country for that. I stopped at the Paxton shop, fixed my body, and, got to meet my childhood hero, Tom Mintz, and then went into Worcester for my first ever Monster Jam show, and went to the finals in racing at my first ever show. And then second show, I won racing, and it was that was pretty awesome. But yeah, I definitely got fast tracked into it, 100%. And I have nobody else to thank for that other than, Mike Christensen and Dustin Brown and the guys there that had faith in me. They saw videos of me driving and said, this kid's got it. And thankfully I didn't let them down. I definitely did my best to stay on my P's and Q's for that first weekend when everybody didn't really know anything about me. But I definitely was not going to let my Monster Jam debut weekend go to waste. I was not going to lay down. I was going to go out there and try to win, and thankfully I did, which that's a win that I'm really proud of, because I didn't get any gimmies in that racing bracket. I raced Cody Saucier the first round. That guy I have so much respect for. And I just, for a long time, I wanted to be just like how his driving style is and how fast he is and stuff like that. I wanted to model myself just like him. So I beat him in the first round. Then I raced Armando Castro on the second round. It was a close race. I beat him. He's awesome as well. And then I raced Weston Gravedigger in the finals and won in front of my parents at my second ever Monster Jam show. I mean, that was another moment where I was trying to hold back tears. It was crazy, man.
Nice. And then, the crew that you have is you and Mason. Then you got Bailey Shea as the other driver, and you're entering a pretty outside of, you're with a great group of people. Man, what Tristan England. I don't know who the other driver is going to be, but I know Elvis is going to be in El Toro, Kristen Anderson and Gravedigger. You got Kurt and Rammunition, and then you got, Hall of Famer Mark Hall and Raminator. And then you got Bailey, which she has ran those courses before. With, everything that's going on here, with the credentials that you have in the other realm, you're in, I'm trying to think of the word, I guess not stats wise, but the career of your driving, I guess you'd be the second lowest compared to everyone else, but still, that's not a bad thing, because that puts a chip on your shoulder, knowing that hopefully these people have been watching you, because if not, they better be bringing their lunch bag.
Oh yeah, you are 100% correct. I am extremely, extremely competitive. I don't care what show or what event I'm at. Doesn't matter if there's 10 people in the stands or 10,000. I want to win, and I want to win it all. And that's the way I took it into the Toughest Monster Truck Tour. As soon as I got, as soon as I got my first few wins, and I heard all the yammering and talking and stuff like that. I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, and I went out and won 9 of the 17 overalls that were available. And I'm going to come into, I think I'm definitely going to come into Monster Jam with a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, just because, it's nobody knows who I am. That's the thing. Especially, like watching the kickoff show and stuff like that. Not that I'm upset at all. Like, I'm super excited that I get to run Monster Jam, and I'm actually happy that nobody knows who I am, because now I get to come out and have a fresh start and just run with it and see what I can do. I feel like I've done pretty decent at the Monster Jam shows that I've done for the summer, and the stuff that I did in first quarter. Reno, Nevada, I did 4 shows there, and I went to the finals with Tyler Menninga, one of the greatest drivers, just period, end of story. One of the greatest drivers that I've ever seen in my life. I went to the finals with him 3 out of the 4 shows, and I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do the best I can to replicate stuff like that for first quarter, because Team Throttle Monster, we're not coming out here just to take part. We're out here to try and win. And just like I said, I'm extremely competitive. No matter where I'm at, I want to win. I'm coming in with a chip on my shoulder, and everybody that I get to compete against on the West Tour is amazing drivers, and that's the way I want it. I don't want any easy fast track to a win. I don't want anything like that. Everybody that I get to race and compete against on the West Tour are great top level awesome drivers, and that's the way I want it. I want the hardest competition that I can possibly have, and I want to go out there and show that I'm still, even though I've won a championship, I'm still being overlooked.
And I know, it's just cool to see the diversity and stuff like that. And you're driving against some drivers, like, for instance, Mark Hall. I mean, you've seen him when you were a little kid, and he was driving the Red Raminator, and now he's going to be on the same tour with you. Are you thinking about picking his brain a lot?
Oh yeah, 100%, dude. I mean, those guys are, you work for them. I mean, they're awesome, dude. I remember seeing them, on like TV and stuff like that when I was younger. There was a documentary that I remember that was on History Channel for a while, and they were in it and stuff like that. They are a legendary team and name, and just they are monster truck royalty as far as I'm concerned. They're awesome. It's it's definitely cool to come out and compete against people like that. Albuquerque, I got to compete against Adam Anderson. I only got to race him one time, but just being there at the same show as him and competing against him when I remember watching him as a kid, it's awesome. It's so awesome. And it fuels my competitive side even more because I know how good those guys are and I want to do the best I can to be as good as them and compete with them and stay at a high level just right there beside them. It's awesome. I remember seeing Mark Hall and Raminator, when I was a kid and watching him, and then Adam, like I was talking about. I remember specifically Atlanta 2007. I was 7 years old, and I remember watching him in his dad's truck when
He
Dennis got
saved
hurt.
that thing twice.
Yes, had the gray skull and
Mm-hmm.
skull and crossbones flag on it. I remember that like it was yesterday, and then I got to compete with him this year, and it was really awesome, dude.
And then you gotta hopefully get that checklist where you could be lining up against Tom Mentz. Oh,
Yes.
that's gonna be, yeah.
Oh my
ever
gosh.
ever had a chance to also line up against Ed? I know Ed helped you out a lot, and um, did you ever done a show yet with Ed being there also?
No, I haven't gotten to do a show with him yet. No, it'd be really cool to be able to go out there and race with him. That'd be awesome. But like you were talking about Tom Mintz. Tom Mintz was my hero growing up. He was my number one. Everybody, it seems like a lot of people were obsessed with Gravedigger, and I was too. I loved Gravedigger, but my number one was Tom. 100% through and through. I thought Tom Mintz was, best thing since sliced bread. That show again at Atlanta 2007, I remember I brought him an RC body that I had. My dad painted me a Team Mintz body for my Emax that I had, and I brought it to that show and had him autograph it, and I still have it. When I was at
Mm,
Paxton, my dad sent me a picture of it, and I showed it to him.
man, that's so cool. I mean, it's just how sometimes stuff can go full circle and maybe more than that. And it's gonna be a fun season. A lot of we don't have a lot of those 5 show stuff that the other tour is having, but we got that the Tacoma. We also got Salt Lake City, which one of them is kind of a practice deal, but
Yeah.
still, I mean, we'll be traveling a lot, and it's a good atmosphere, good crowd. I think it's gonna be a good time.
Oh yeah, 100%. It'll be a great time. All the Monster Jam shows that I have, had the privilege of being a part of this year they've all been great. Everybody that I've met there has been, great people. I haven't had a single problem with anybody there. Like everybody is super cool and down to earth and nice. Like, Tristan England, Cody Saucier, guys like that I remember that I've, watched for a while. Adam, everybody that I've met there has always been so polite and nice. And all the, even like the people that run the show, the AV managers and the EICs and, everybody that's involved with those events, they seem like they're all just wonderful people. And, I haven't even scratched the surface on meeting everybody that's involved. But, I expect that everybody's going to be the same way. And every single crowd that I've had the privilege of being in front of for these Monster Jam shows, they're always so energetic because they're so involved in the show with scoring and everything. They're really awesome to be a part of. Just all around doing these Monster Jam shows is really an honor and a privilege, and it's so much fun.
All right, man. Hey, I know you're getting ready for this weekend in Arizona, but outside of that, any more shows, or is it going to be first quarter prep?
Yeah, it'll just be first quarter prepped after this, man. I think I have a show in December in Spokane, Washington, but that'll be after we're finished with first quarter prep at that point. But yeah, as far as the regular season here for 2022, this weekend is it for me and my old girl here, and we're gonna take her down and get everything repowder coated, make it all look nice again, and just go beat it up next year.
Right on, right on. Can anybody follow you on social media?
Yeah, so my Instagram is my last name, WIDNER_MT. Facebook, it's just I just have a personal Facebook page. I don't really have any of the fan stuff going on. I don't think I'm worthy of that stuff just yet. I just I've got all my personal stuff and my Instagram and stuff like that. I post a lot on my Instagram, and usually whatever I post on my Instagram goes to my Facebook as well. So if you ever want to keep up with what we're doing, the Team Throttle Monster page and Jurassic Monsters page, both of those are really good places to figure out if you want to follow me and see what I'm doing. Those are good places, and then my Instagram and Facebook. That's pretty much about it.
Man, and also you're on the Full Tilt Boogie over there on TikTok. You did a little side video for those guys.
Oh yeah.
Go check a look at that too. And man, Dalton, thank you for being on here. Did the chat for almost an hour, so we just saved an hour of driving time for who's ever listening. But man, once again, thank you. And it was also good meeting you at Wheatland for the first time, even though we've been online racing, talking on Discord and stuff like that. But Wheatland was the first time we ever got to meet each other.
Yeah, it was good, dude. I hadn't seen her. I don't. We hadn't talked in a while either. But I recognized you as soon as I saw you, man. It was really cool getting to see you and meet you, man. For as long as we've been racing together on rigs, rods, and whatnot. Finally, it's coming full circle. We're both in it, and we're just you just started driving, and I've been driving, and it's really cool to just like have a full circle moment like that. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was, and just enjoying the show and watching what you did, and then watching Zach just destroy. Well, he did some type of ROR move at the end, but
Oh yeah, if you ever want to like wondered what a monster truck can or can't do, and whether it should or shouldn't do it, you should watch Zach Jensen, because whenever he turns his brain off and has some fun, you'll see some stuff that doesn't really make any sense, but it's really awesome. And I don't mind putting the truck back together when he does that, because it's really sweet.
Nice. Well, Dalton, thank you for coming on here, man, and we'll see you this first quarter.
Sounds good, man. I'll see you then.
All right, take care.
Thanks.
All right, that's the Toughest Monster Truck Tour champion there, 2022, Dalton Widner. Once again, guys, thank you so much for being on here, watching this. If you have any questions, this is a recording episode, but once again, give a shout out. Love the Brad. We'll be, this recording, we'll be coming back from Arkansas. We're getting ready for our show. We're going to be in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And then during the weekend of Thanksgiving, we'll be in Omaha, Nebraska. So that would be probably it for Monster Jam, Monster Truck Racing. More to come schedule-wise for December, and then we'll start our first quarter season at Salt Lake City, Utah. So, man, once again, thank you for everyone that helps out. J Concepts, High Octane Coffee, JB Scale Graphics, 6B Apparel, Back Channel Productions, MTRC, Hall Brothers Racing, Bradley Shaw Designs, Justin Stories. Thank you for everyone that's being on here. We do appreciate it. And once again, Brad always says, keep the shiny side up and the rubber side down. Peace. Talk to a friend. You never know what they're going through. Be nice, be kind. One love, one God. Hang in there, guys. Peace.